This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All Star Vacation Homes. And if you're looking for a lot of space for not a lot of price, All Star Vacation Homes has that for you. They've got great homes with lots of great amenities, and that's not a lot of price. In fact, even better, the houses are located so close to Walt Disney World, oftentimes you can see Disney's Animal Kingdom from these houses. That's how close you are. So check them out online. Go to www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
Bringing the world to your world, this is Walt Disney World Today. Here are Mike Scopa, Len Testa, Mike Newell, and your host, Matt Hochberg.
It's Friday, January 28th, 2011, and this is episode 831 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from StudiosCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
The analysis modules above your head will now lower into place. Please remain seated in an upright position with your arms at your sides, and when the modules touch your shoulders, they will stop automatically. So remain seated and do not interrupt their operation.
Mission to Mars?
Stitcher.
Alien Encounter.
Alien Encounter.
Woo! Sweet.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Mike, welcome back from your nice little vacation there.
Hey, I'm on the dream again, so you sound very close. You sound like you're just here.
I'm so jealous.
But Matt, listen, really, there was no iPod Touch on this trip.
You know, believe it or not, that doesn't make me feel any better.
Wah, wah.
Also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome to the show, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding. Len, I propose that we start recording like a show 6 months in advance, like every so often, and then we'll just make wild predictions about what happened in 6 months from now.
When the stock market crashed today. Exactly.
Also joining us on today's show is Fred Hazelton, a master statistician for touringplans.com. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Hello, Matthew. Thank you.
He almost called you Henry.
No, I didn't.
No. Matt did.
I would make that mistake.
Matt said, "Welcome to the show, Fred."
I get excited when Fred's around.
Who doesn't?
It's mutual.
I lose my breath and it's so dreamy.
You're only human, Matt. What can you do?
On today's show, we're going to talk about a problem that many of us actually wish would happen to us, but actually two of the panelists have had happen just recently. Mike and Len had the fortunate or unfortunate, depending on your opinion, opportunity or issue of having to extend their trips at Walt Disney World due to weather. And so they were, quote unquote, stuck at Walt Disney World. And let's talk a little bit about the circumstances that brought upon these that made you get stuck at Walt Disney World. Great English.
It was a blizzard of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer proportion.
Really?
Yeah, so
It was the best of times and it was the worst of times?
No, I would not.
Oh. Sorry. All right, go ahead, Mark.
In other words, it was a Canadian Wednesday, you mean?
a random Canadian Tuesday in June, right?
The
Exactly.
seas were rough that day.
The sea was angry that day, my friend.
You can't call that a snowstorm. What? This is a snowstorm.
Exactly. It was still 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. So we Mike and I both ran the half marathon and the marathon. We ran marathon weekend, so January 8th and 9th, and we were trying to go back. I was trying to go back Monday the 10th, but a snowstorm hit the East Coast, dumping as much as 2 feet of snow in some places on the East Coast the late on the night of the 9th. So flights started being canceled. For me, I was flying back US Air. US Air immediately told me, night of the 9th, that my flight on the 10th was canceled and I should try back in on the 11th. So I knew I automatically had one night. Scopa, when did they tell you that your flight was canceled?
My flight was supposed to land on Tuesday night at 10:30, and the first snowflake was not supposed to hit till well after midnight. So I was really confused when I got the call, and I think we got the call Tuesday morning, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I found out later that Southwest didn't want any of its planes in the Northeast corridor during the snow. So I was told like 9 hours ahead of time, and that just started a whole.
So you were told, Mike, you were told ahead of time, but Len, you actually went to the airport.
So Monday, I knew my flight was canceled. They rebooked me for Tuesday on the 11th. I went to the airport on the 11th. As soon as I got there, they said, "Hey, if you're going to Charlotte, get in this special line because we have important news for you." And that important 1 hour line ended up being they had actually they had actually routed me to an earlier flight on the Tuesday to try and get me in before the temperatures dropped below freezing. So I was at the airport for 5 hours. They ended up canceling my flights. Tuesday, they said, look, we'll rebook you on a late flight Wednesday the 12th. But I was already coming back on the night of the 13th. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay. So I actually just made my return ticket the night of the 16th. So I ended up on the 11th. I knew I was staying 5 extra days.
Wow. So you guys get
and then I had to start planning.
yeah, because that's what happens. You guys get the word that you're going to be stuck there, and you make a decision.
Right. So I checked out. I returned the rental car. Checked out of the hotel, returned the rental car. I had no place to stay on the 11th, no place to stay on the 12th, no place to stay on the 13th.
So
did you go through travel insurance at all, like through credit cards and stuff like that, or did you just wing it?
Oh no, US Air was super cool about it though. They actually they did two very good things for me. One is they moved my flight on the 11th all the way to Sunday to give me a return ticket back to Greensboro, and since I had another round trip flight on the 13th and the 16th already, they actually refunded that entire flight due to weather.
You have to I guess explain, Len, that you had a trip planned actually for the following weekend already. Before
yeah, so I already had a trip. Yes, so I was coming back the following Thursday and Friday. So when they told me I was coming back Wednesday night to Greensboro, I'm like, well, Thursday I'm just going to turn around and come back to Orlando. Why don't we just cancel the one entire trip and move my my return back to Sunday? Then I'm straight. And to US Air's credit, they did exactly what I wanted. They gave me a full refund, not a credit. US Air treated me as well as they could have treated any passenger.
How about you, Mike? What was your experience like with your flight?
What happened was that I checked out of my room and was planning to do some things in Orlando, and my flight wasn't taking off till 7:30, and right around 10:30, right around 11 o'clock, I got the call from Southwest, and while on the phone with Southwest, they said, gee, we might be able to get you out earlier today. We may be able to get you out on a 1:30 flight. So trying to do things over the phone, with the agent and everything got really kind of tough because me and everybody was trying to do that. And I guess the system was going crazy. And the Southwest agent said, no, you're probably better off going to the airport. And that was, I had to go by what the expert was telling me to do. She said, you'd have a better chance of getting on a flight if you're there in the airport. They can put you on standby. And I said, what are our chances? She said, pretty good. I think it's pretty good. So I said, so I went to the airport, got to the airport and brought my car back, went all the way to the gate and was hoping I'd get on a 1:30 flight to Baltimore that eventually would get me up here to Manchester. And it never happened. So then they said, well, we can put you on a flight tomorrow night at 7:30. So then I had to figure, okay, do I want to spend a day and a half in the airport, or do I want to go back to Disney? So I ended up, so here's the thing.
That's not much of a choice, Mike.
But here's the thing that if I had one thing that I want everyone to know, I think, and Len, I don't know how you feel about this. I think if I had been told, like earlier in the day, about my options, I think I would have saved money. I'll give you an example. Why I'll tell you why I feel this way. Number one, I got a pretty good deal from Alamo. I rented a Toyota Corolla for a week, and it was with fees. It was about $100. It was $103. That's a great deal for 7 days.
Yeah, for a week, that's not bad at all.
If I had to extend that one more day, they would have said fine, and it would have been the same rate one more day. But I had
returned the car.
I had turned it in. Then I went back to Alamo and I said, I want the cheapest car. I want I just need it for 1 day, and it was $50. So one day cost $50. 7 days cost me $100. So even that, okay.
I'm wondering if you. Oh, go ahead, Lon.
It's days 2 through 7 that are cheap, Mike. Everyone knows that. It's depreciation. It's depreciation on that first day.
I'm wondering, Mike, if you would have gotten a better deal had you actually said okay, and then took out your laptop, gone online, and booked it.
And that's what I did. So Laurel actually got my Laurel while I was in line for US Air. Laurel both got us a room back at Pop, and found a discount code on Mouse Savers for a car. So actually, I had a car for the following weekend for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for $108. She actually found me a rental car for an entire week for $76.
What about you, Mike? How did you get your accommodations again?
What I did is I ended up that night I watched Illuminations with you guys. What I did was I just went to Disney and I called up and I said, give me a room at, I think, where did I stay? I think I stayed at All Star Movies, which was a pretty good deal, an annual pass holder special. And so that wasn't too bad. And I stayed there, and that night I had dinner with Becky Menken, and then I saw you guys, and we watched Illuminations. And I remember coming back from Illuminations, and we got the call that flight, the flight that they had booked us on in the morning, that had been canceled. So I actually had to rebook 2 or 3 times, and we ended up flying out Wednesday night at 7:30, which was 24 hours later. Actually, that flight was delayed, and we actually landed in snow on a very snowy runway. And when I got back to the car was just, I mean, the snow was so high, it was up to the side.
How high was it?
It was up to the side mirror on the driver's side.
Wow.
And it took me an hour to dig out. So it was really tough. But what I learned from this is that, number one, if you can, avoid going to the airport if you can, so that, and as soon as you find out that your flight has been canceled or canceled essentially, you need to put things into motion as soon as possible. The first thing, of course, is to find out when you're going to fly out so that you can make accommodations, you can take care of cars and things like that. But I'll tell you, one of the things that really got me upset was that I made that trip to the airport, and I really didn't have to. I could have stayed at Disney. I could have, and had a couple more hours to enjoy myself. And it was really funny. I got a lot of people saying to me on Facebook, "Oh, I can think of better places. I can't think of a better place to be stuck in," which is fine and dandy. But if you really were planning to get home and you really didn't budget for an extra day or two, and all that stuff, you really want to get home. So.
Yeah, I've been on trips before where, the weather has caused it to be canceled. And I think unless you absolutely need to get home, then just, you're better off just staying in your hotel and then making arrangements from there. Because it's a lot easier to hop on your cell phone or hop onto a laptop and, try to figure out what you're going to do than to fight with crowds and, everybody freaking out at the airport. Actually,
I got to correct myself. I actually stayed at Pop. I stayed in the 80s, and they were very nice. They gave us toiletries because what we did is we had sent our bags home, so our bags were gone. So we had because we were taking a chance, We had a couple of things, but Pop was very good. They gave us toiletries, and they also allowed us to extend our room that next day because we weren't flying out in the morning. We were flying out in the afternoon. So they gave us a late checkout, which was very nice.
Let me ask you. Go ahead, Alan.
I only had three days worth of clothes because for the marathon I was coming down on Friday. I was leaving on Monday.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, no, but so I wore the same clothes over and over again. But but I ended up doing laundry twice while I was at the. Actually, did it once at the
just ran through Splash Mountain a couple times.
Yeah,
I would have had to do laundry naked because I didn't have a change of clothes.
I know. Well, that's the thing. You put your luggage in there. I actually didn't check my luggage when I got on the US Air flight, and the guy afterwards told me that was the smartest thing I could have done. By taking it with me, by agreeing to take it with me. When they canceled the flight, I still had my luggage. So I ended up doing laundry one afternoon at the Polynesian, which was a hoot because they have a great laundry facility. But so 2 things were important. One, if you think your flight's going to be canceled, never check your bag, or always keep at least a couple days of clothes in a carry-on bag. 2, I actually had to work that week, so that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I had to actually work for my day job. Luckily, I had checked the weather ahead of time, and I told my boss the Friday before I left that it could snow, and in the event it did, I was just going to work from the hotel, and I brought all of my networking equipment, my work PC, everything with me. So I had planned for contingency.
Nice.
To do that. So that worked out really, really well.
I know that I think it was the week after you guys, there was another storm that rolled in, and my folks were here visiting, and a similar situation. The storm was coming in, and I'm not sure if this happened to you guys, but the airlines actually allowed you to book in advance. Like they knew the storm was coming, so they waived the booking fees.
Yeah.
Right. And they were able to, so my parents were able to go on a flight ahead of time, like earlier, so they left earlier so that they could get home. Was that an option for you guys, or did they not even mention that when they, when the storm was being, looked like it was definitely coming?
they did say that to me. They did say, we could get you on an earlier flight, but the problem was, Matt, that everybody was trying to get on that earlier flight. But you bring up something that I wanted to mention to everyone during any time. I mean, I've taken, I counted before we were going to do this topic. I made 37 trips down there between November and like March over the years, and this was the first time that weather has impacted me, and so it was kind of. So I've actually been pretty lucky. But one of the things I wanted to mention is that when you're going to travel down there during the winter, here's something that the runners can identify with. We had a couple of people on our running team who were planning to do the Goofy, which is the half marathon on Saturday and the full marathon on Sunday. Well, they were having a tough time getting down there. For the half marathon, they almost missed the half marathon, which would have killed them for that Goofy. Yeah. And so what that told me is that if you have to go to Disney World and you're going there for a special event, give yourself an extra buffer so that you can make it in time. And by that same token, if you have to be home, you definitely have to be home by a certain day. Maybe you want to give yourself some extra time just in case if there's an event like this, you have that buffer to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, in the summertime, it's actually the reverse, whereas the big storms are up north now in the winter. In the summertime, thunderstorms roll down here in the south, and they can really wreak havoc with the airport schedule. But I actually had a last question for both of you guys. Start with Len. Mm-hmm. Len, what was the easiest and what was the most difficult aspect of once you knew things were canceled, like, rebooking or whatever? Like, what was the easiest thing to rebook? What was the most difficult thing to rebook?
Actually, the rebooking stuff was fairly easy. Disney gave me my AP rate at Pop, so it was $63 a night. The rental car thing was absolutely fine. The thing that was difficult was the mentality about having to work in the Pop Century hotel room for 3 days. I wasn't expecting that, and the internet worked fine. Everything was Disney did a great job on everything, but like housekeeping couldn't come in because I was on conference calls all day. So I had to reschedule housekeeping for like 7 o'clock at night. There was one day I worked from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. at Pop Century, and it was 260 square feet. It's hard to work that long in a tiny space like that. And then I couldn't go out. All my friends were going out because they were in Disney. I was working, and I'm not saying it was bad, but still it was. The adjustment of being in Disney World and having to work and not go out and play was the hardest thing.
Yeah, it's a distracting environment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it could be, right. So
gotcha. What about you, Mike? What about your experience? What was the hardest and the easiest aspect of rebooking?
Well, the hardest, of course, was getting the next flight out, because everybody who was using Southwest that week, those 2 days we're trying to do the same thing I was doing. So there's a lot of competition there. And I think that's where it became the hardest. We actually were on the earliest flight, the first flight that landed in New Hampshire, within that last 2 days. So we were lucky. That was the hardest. And the thing about that was that the booking of the flight would impact, that was a catalyst. That had a domino effect on the other things. The easiest thing to do was to book the room or extend the room at Disney. They were very nice. I got what Len got too. I got the real good annual pass holders rate. If I had known earlier about everything, I could have extended the car. It would have been easier too. So it actually wasn't too bad. It's just that the timing of everything is so vital, so that things can be easy to do and not expensive to take care of. So that's what it comes down to, the timing of when you're notified that your flight's canceled.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the insight. I think it really helps some people who might be in the situation next time to know. And I know certainly I learned, one thing, that if I'm ever in a situation like that, I mean, the airport sounds like, if you think there's a good chance it's not going to happen, the airport's the last place you want to be, because all you're going to do is be frustrated and waste time. So that's good to know. And I think it's going to wrap it up for us today. Don't forget, this episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And if you're looking for a great place to stay, really, really great, All-Star Vacation Homes is the place to go, because they've got these really wonderfully themed, in some cases, but also well-kept homes. These are really brand new houses that have great amenities, huge showers, huge master bedrooms for everybody, bathrooms for everyone, private pool. You really have to see these houses to understand how cool these are. This isn't just like your Uncle Joe's house in Boca. This is a really nice place that I don't know, Boca's, and I'm sure Boca's.
What do you know
nice
about
houses.
my Uncle Joe's house in Boca?
These are nice places. So go check them out right now. Go online. Go, browse the photos. I bet you're going to be impressed by what you see. Go to www.allstarvacationhomes.com. And don't forget, this Sunday is our live show, the 29th. That's
Saturday.
tomorrow, Saturday, the 29th. I know it's a little different, but we're going to do Saturday, January 29th, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, live show. Come check us out. WDWtoday.com for all the details. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and Fred Hazelton, I'm Matt Hotchberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.